Welcome back, guys. All right, so this is Inside FPL on the locker room vibes, and as I said in my recent videos, we would have some teams playing this game week, and that's what has been happening so far. So if you are unaware, we've had some teams play midweek, that is Tuesday. We had some play Wednesday and Thursday too. We have some teams that will be playing already. We've had most matches being played, and it's been all sorts of interesting Champions League, EFL Cup, and we'll look at how those fixtures affect us as FPL managers heading into Game Week 5. Alright, so before we do, kindly subscribe, like, and let's get interactive. Alright, so as I said, midweek we've had some teams play. We've had Champions League, we've had EFL, and let's start with the EFL. So with EFL, we had Crystal Palace taking on Millwall. They won on penalties. It ended 1-1 at full time. Then we had Brentford taking on Aston Villa. Interestingly, Aston Villa couldn't come out on top. It ended 1-1. Brentford winning on penalties as well. Then we had, shall I say shockingly, we had Nottingham Forest being kicked out by Swansea City. So Nottingham Forest, as I said, new manager, new philosophy. Things are still looking dicey because Ange Postecoglou likes to play, or he likes focus on attacking. And is that the best option now? Would we hope to see how things go for him. So we had as Nottingham Forest, as I said, being knocked out by Swansea City by 3-2, I think. So at the end of the day, they scored first. They scored the 2 goals first, after which they they sat back for the goals to be equalized, and another scored. So it's rather unfortunate for Nottingham Forest. Moving on to the Champions League, and one thing you should know, for the EFL Cup, most managers didn't really feature their normal 11. It was more of bench and development players or other young players. So it doesn't really affect the squad so much, but others also had a few players in the mix. So I think Chris Wood wasn't there. I think Mateta or a few other players featured, but even still, it didn't really go their way. It didn't go well for some teams. Crystal Palace came up on top, so that's okay for them. Most teams didn't really feature the full 11. So as a players, you'd still be hopeful that in the coming game week you'd have your normal players from game week 4, 3, 2, 1 featuring. You would have that normal lineup, so it doesn't really affect you so much. Getting into the Champions League, we had Arsenal taking on Atletico Bilbao and winning as well. We had Tottenham taking on Villarreal and winning that match as well. We had Chelsea losing to Bayern Munich. We are yet to see City take on Napoli. And some few other fixtures. We have Newcastle, Barcelona. So that one too, we are looking at how that goes as well. So all in all, it's been very good. Arsenal, with their normal squad, went in, tried to figure things out, and they came out on top. Liverpool, okay, so I forgot to mention, Liverpool also winning against Atletico Madrid by 3-2, winning it late. Kind courtesy of Van Dijk. So Van Dijk goal helping Liverpool come out on top. At the end, that is in the dying minutes. They started by 2 goals. They sat, Atletico equalized, and ended up 3-2 in their favor. So all in all, we've had most teams play. We've had some teams play, and we'll see how it affects them. So going into game week 5, we'll be looking at Liverpool starting the hurdle by taking on Everton. That is an early kickoff match. It's going to be very tricky because Everton have always proved to be stubborn. But let's see how this goes for this new Liverpool side, very determined and structured. We have Brighton and taking on Spurs. Burnley, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Crystal Palace, Wolves, Leeds, Manchester United, Chelsea, Fulham, Brighton, and Brentford, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Sunderland, Aston Villa, Arsenal, City. So all in all, that is how it's looking heading into game week 5. And Arsenal had their normal players. Aside from the injured ones, we had Liverpool also featuring their normal players. So I think now the only change was Isak starting and Higo Ekitike on the bench. But he was substituted somewhere in game, I think 60, 70 minutes thereabouts. He was taken off. So I think it could be how things would be looking like heading into game week 5, that you would want to really consider your choice between Higo Ekitike and Isak, because I think the manager favors Isak more. So that too is something you'd have to look at. Tottenham have their full squad now. I think the coach has his belief in Xavi Simons in the attacking front. So Xavi Simons, Richarlison, Kudus. You have your normal midfield. You have Papi Sarr in the mix thereabouts. You have Van de Ven for defense. You have Pedro Porro featuring somewhere there. And it's been good all over, having Pedro Porro, Romero, Van de Ven. But I think the most players or the good players looking at would be Van de Ven, Pedro Porro, because they tend to move in more. Romero once a while would give you a goal or a clean sheet from a set piece. And so far the clean sheets have been good. We've had some teams keeping clean sheets. So you wouldn't see Liverpool changing so much against Everton because they want to keep up the pace. So at least you could be looking at a Salah. So just a few players you can be looking at. Just consider how things would look like for you as a manager. So you could be looking at a Salah. You could be considering an Isak getting into this match. Moving on, Spurs, as I said, Xavi Simons, Kudus. You have your Papi Sarr. He could be a differential midfielder. So I realize that most managers not have him, but he could be a differential midfielder. You also have your Pedro Porro, Van de Ven, very good players to have. Nottingham Forest, Burnley. I think this is going to be very tricky because Burnley are proving themselves. They are trying to state the fact that they want to stay. But the question is, does Nottingham really have it now to be able to avoid conceding? Let's see how that goes. Initially, I was saying Chris Wood would be a good option, but I think the manager has other plans. Let's see how the subsequent game week goes. Whether he still keeps his faith in him or he comes up with a different selection. We had West Ham, Crystal Palace. I think it's going to be very interesting, this match. So you could have a few players from there. And Mateta, you could have Baldwin from West Ham. You could have Munez from Crystal Palace as well. So very good selection here and there. Wolves leads to definitely do get some players from there. Manchester, Chelsea. So Cole Palmer is back. He scored in midweek against Bayern Munich, even though Chelsea lost. I think he would be a good fit if you are looking for someone to provide the goals. Chelsea looked a little bit slow during the match, but at least Cole Palmer is still providing the goals. Joao Pedro has some good starts against Manchester United, so you can consider having him as well. Fulham, Brentford, interesting match there. Bournemouth, Newcastle is going to be very slow, I think. Sunderland, Aston Villa, I think so. It's still going to be a very slow match. Aston Villa still trying to find their feet. Arsenal, Newcastle going to be very tactical. You can go in for an Arsenal defender just to keep things safe. So all in all, it's looking very interesting. So these are some of the players that you can be looking at heading into game week 5. And looking at the players, so the most transferred in so far, we have Semenyo, Van de Ven, So good players there to have. Haaland, I think you would be very cautious. You want to be very cautious having Magay, two good player to have. But I think they have some very tricky fixtures coming up. Then the Chelsea players and Everton. It's good from there. So as I said, Higo Ekitike, most managers are considering taking him out because of Isak's return. Florian Wirtz too. Most managers are losing their belief. Wood, as I said, I think most managers have also seen that, so you'd want to be very cautious with him. And all in all, it looks very good heading into the fixture. So this is an older version, so I think by Friday we should get an updated version of how the transfers are looking heading into game week 5. All right, guys, thank you. Subscribe and leave a